Ualatp's cunning is a boon associated with the Nehekaran god of the same name. He is considered the Nehekaran vulture god of scavengers. The vultures, called carrion, according to old scripture, were considered to be agents of Ualapt, who would carry the spirits of the dead to the sky to fight the enemies of Nehekara, namely demons. Nekef I was considered to be the first to use carrion during warfare, after the mortuary cult locked them up in ancient tombs of the necropoli. Necropolises? No, anyway. According to the name giver, we can already see the connection here, both with the description of Ualapt as the Nehekaran god of scavengers, as well as the idea that players are usually all over it when there is an ammo box lying around. In addition to that, there is an even stronger argument. The carrion are low in numbers these days, the reason being that they have no longer access to fresh bodies to scavenge from to rejuvenate their strength, since the Tomb Kings, depending on the timeline, are either in the sand or keep warring on each other. So yeah, we can see why this ability is called what it is. The same way players scavenge for ammunition in this game, the carrion of Ualapt scavenges for food to rejuvenate their strength. So, every time we pick up ammo, we rejuvenate. Maybe I would change it to something like Ualapt's rejuvenation or something along those lines, but that's it. Well, this was a short one, and there really isn't much here. Guess I'll make it 3 gods this video. Let's hop over to a god that has already been mentioned. This time the dwarven god of home and hearth. Valaya. The boon associated with her is Valaya's brew. Quick and dirty. She is not just the goddess of home and hearth, but also healing and brewing. So there's that explained already. At least partially. And the things that come with perpetual drunkenness, like being with 2 different men. She is the wife of both Grungni and Grimnir, though I gotta wonder who's getting cucked here. And the founder of many dwarf holds, which would include Karas Akarak and Karak 8 Peaks. And in general, she is considered to be the protector of the dwarven race. In addition to that, she is also considered the one who penned the dwarven runic script. The way she is depicted is that of an archetypical dwarf woman. She got the long hair, braided and long, down to her feet, and usually she wears chainmail over a purple dressing, and her weapon of choice is that of a rune axe named Gratskonti, which translates to Peace Giver. Her symbol is usually a shield with a Gromthi Rinri rune, which essentially means Ancestor Queen. There are, as per usual, some other runes, like a sheaf of hops and a stylized hearth, or even a stylized depiction of her face. Her clerics wear robes of the same color that she wears, purple, trimmed with gold, with a medallion which contains her cult runes. Here's the kicker. Valaya is worshipped mainly by dwarves throughout the old world, but also in Norska, which are not necessarily chaos dwarves. See, there are dwarven holds within the mountain ranges of Norska that are still, let's say, normal, but they have diverged culturally in a massive way because they basically got cut off from the rest of the dwarven landscape about 7,000 years ago. Offerings to Valaya are usually shields, food, and guess what? Beer. There are also a few humans that worship her, but because her aspects include homeland and clan, which are concepts usually pretty foreign to humans, it is rather rare. Now you might think, humans have a homeland though? What do you mean by that? Well, see, the thing is, humans in the old world are pretty much always on the move. Either because 80% of them are part of the military, or because their homes got destroyed, and now they have to move to another part of the empire. Obviously, she also has some temples going on in the dwarf halls. They are usually located close to the queen's chambers, with the largest one in Karasakarak, one of the halls she herself founded. Within those temples, one can find an altar flanked by statues of her. One statue shows her as her peaceful aspect. No armor, no weapons, but instead equipped with an infant. Oh, and a tankard of ale in the other hand, though I think it is questionable if she feeds that ale to that infant. Then again, it's dwarves. The other statue, however, shows her in her more battle-ready stance. Chainmail, helmet, shield, and a raised axe. The walls of the temple are covered bottom to ceiling in frescoes, depicting scenes of dwarven life. Outside of halls, one can find shrines to her located in every single domicile and every single brewery where one can find a dwarven settlement. On an important note, those shrines are not maintained by dwarven clergy, but rather by the standard residents of that settlement. As with any other god, there are also certain alignments Valaya has with other gods. She is allied with all the other gods of the dwarven pantheon, like all of them. Which is no surprise. There is not a single dwarf that doesn't like ale, and that doesn't change with dwarven gods. She also has a good relation with the cults of the newcomer gods, Sigma and Rhea, as well as those of the Old Faith and, unsurprisingly, the halfling cults. I can already see the epic celestial cook-up competition between Valaya and Esmeralda. Other old world cults she regards with a more neutral stance, but unsurprisingly, she's not entirely fond of elves. Alrighty, so we don't want to get down here in our mood, so let's talk festivities. Her holy days, to be specific. She actually has two, occurring at both spring and autumn equinox, corresponding to the planting and harvesting of crops needed to brew some mean dwarven ale. Unsurprisingly, her cult is open to any dwarf of adult age, but especially brewers and healers. As with the other gods, except Ualapt, apparently, she has some strictures you have to follow if you want to become a master of the brew. 6 to be precise. 1. Always provide aid to a wounded or ailing dwarf. 2. Always assist a dwarf friend in need. 3. Always attend to the need of the young. 4. Always protect fellow dwarfs from harm, especially at the hands of a dwarf enemy. 5. Never allow dwarf ale to fall into the hands of enemies, unless to do so saves dwarven lives. And 6. Never knowingly sell or otherwise distribute spoiled ale. Her trials usually center around tending to the sick and wounded in settlements at lonely roads, as well as mining communities, or gathering rare herbs for medical purpose. All in all, just like Esmeralda, a nice grandma, just a bit larger and probably with a beard. Isha's Embrace is an ability reminiscent of Boon of Shalia, just, well, better. But who exactly is Isha? Well, according to her divine portfolio, she's the goddess of fertility, nature, harvest, bountiful land, the protector of the natural order, and the mother of the elven race. Obviously, she is worshipped by the Wood Elves, as we can see with her aspects, as goddess of nature and such, but overall she is worshipped by the other elf factions as well. Some might overlook that, but elves have to cultivate farmland. They gotta nourish those stringy buddies, and for that they worship her so she might aid them in farming, or protect them during childbirth. You know, the one elven child born every 50 years or so, after the elves finally figured out who's a male and who's a female representative of their species. She's also considered to be the goddess that taught the elves how to care for land, and how to be good farmer boys. So the harvest is plenty. The way she is depicted is as an elf woman full of life and beauty. Sounds like an elf wrote that. Nice bit of trivia. It is her who blesses the so-called Everqueen with wisdom, beauty, and power, and is the one who protects and preserves the glades of Avalon. so winter may never fall there. If you want to know who the Everqueen is, go to Google, type in Everqueen. But seriously, the Everqueen is the consort of the Phoenix King and co-ruler of the High Elves, currently Alarielle. She is the one that rules over Avalorn. Contrary to the name, she is not Queen Eternal, but rather the Phoenix King says, "Damn those cheeks, you girl, right?" And if she agrees and says, "Yes, I'm a woman," marries her, and that's how you become Everqueen. Her symbol is that of the all-seeing eye, shedding tears for her mortal children, the elves. By the way, elves are not immortal, but for younger races they do seem so. It is not that unusual for an elf to live for up to 7,000 years. Pretty impressive if I may say so. Yet 7,000 years of experience didn't save them from fucking up majorly. But back to topic. The reason why elves are mortal, albeit very long-lived, is because Surian, the ruler of the elven pantheon, decided so. Isha cried a river, her tears fell down to the world and turned Ulthuan into a rich and bountiful land. Very typical creation story / myth. Same with Osiris and Isis in Egypt, where it is said that the Nile flood is the tears of Isis, who mourns the death of her husband Osiris. I wouldn't be surprised if pus and pox became the saliva pooling in Nurgle's mouth at this point. Anyway, that happened. After the fact, Isha took on the role of Watcher, guarding her now mortal children. From time to time, she falls on her knees and begs her daughter Lilith to talk to the elves via dreams and nightmares, to warn them of coming danger, of course. And when Azurion is not watching, she intervenes personally and makes demons shrivel. Now, while I hate to repeat this and to sound like a broken record, in conclusion, this ability is self-explanatory. She is the goddess of fertility, nature, and so on. I think I can leave it at that. Thank you very much for watching, and if you liked the video, you know the routine. I don't want to beg for internet points. Have a nice day.